we are at Genesis 5 to 8. Genesis 5. Footnote: this chapter follows in detail the line of Seth, because Cain killed Abel, his brother, and buried him in the ground east of Eden, somewhere in Eden. Right, and if you look at those old biblical maps, the really old ones, and compare it with today's modern maps, you'll find that that land that he was buried in is now known as Kuwait, modern Kuwait. This is basically a lineage, or the genealogy list of the descendants of Adam. And it reads, this is the scripture of Adam's birth. In the eon, or that age or era, that God created Adam. In the likeness of God, he created him. He's talking about Adam, moulded from the earth, or the dirt, the dust. Male and female, he created them. This is talking about God. He created male and female. And God blessed them, and he called their name Adam. This is talking about the second Adams, these human beings, Adam and Eve. In the eon or era, he created them, or the age that he created them. And Adam lived 130 years, so it's stated there he was 130 years at this point. And Adam produced offspring or descendants in his own image, or like him. Right? You have a son, he's like you, isn't he? Or a daughter, she's like the mother, etc., etc. And he called his name Seth. In this case, it's Adam's image, right? And he had a son, because he had a son, right? And he was just like Adam, looked like Adam, etc. And he called his name Seth. And Adam's line or lineage, it's lineage, line of descendants, after the birth of Seth, lived 800 years, and to him were born many sons and daughters. Okay? He had descendants. And so Adam's entire line or lineage was 930 years altogether, and then it ended. So if you look in your Americanized English Bible versions, whatever that version may be, it'll say that he was 930 years and he died. That's a incorrect translation or mistranslation. And then it ended. Okay, so he didn't live 930 years. It's talking about his lineage. Okay, 5:5, literal Aramaic idiomatic Aramaic idiom. Right, it died out. It ended, right? Because when Adam's is over, his son, being the heir, his oldest son, because Cain's not around anymore. Obviously Abel is long dead, so he's the oldest son in that presence of Adam, right? Around Adam. Seth lived 105 years, and to him was born Enosh. There's his son there, descendant. And then Seth's line lived, after Enosh was born to him, to Seth, 807 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. Okay? And Seth's entire line was 912 years, and then it ended. Again, it died out. Because then Enosh being the heir, the chief, or the oldest son of Seth, okay, he lives 90 years, and to him was born a offspring or a son, right? Kenan. And Enosh's line lived, or his lineage lived, after Kenan was born to him, to Enosh, 815 years, and he brought forth many sons and daughters. Okay? So that's probably talking about Kenan was born to him, and he grew up, and then he brought forth for Enosh many descendants, right? And then Kenan lived 70 years, and to him was born Mahalalel. Okay, so he had a son, because it's always the sons that are the heir, or the head of the family, the oldest son. Not too sure if anyone had a daughter and she became the head of it. I don't think that applied, not too sure, but here it's mentioning males, long line of males, right? So Kenan lived 70 years, and to him was born Mahalalel. And Kenan's line lived after Mahalalel was born to him 840 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And it continues, right? Yeah. And it gets down here to Genesis 5:19. And Erad's line lived after Enosh was born to him 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And Erad's entire lineage or line was 962 years, and then it ended. Okay, it died out. And then Enoch lived 65 years, and to him was born Methuselah. Okay, so up here it says Enosh, and then down here it says Enoch. So we're not too sure if that's a translator error. So we're going to have a look at the NIV again, because it's on top of the JW Bible, right? So that's the first one we grabbed. And it's in very modern English, right? So what are we looking at? Enosh, Genesis 5:10. Okay, 5:10. Okay, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived 905 years and then he died. Okay, so that's an incorrect mistranslation. It's a mistranslation, right, as we pointed out. So where's Enoch in here? There's no mention of Enoch. Okay, we're looking for Erad. Oh, here we go, way down the bottom there. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. And after he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Jared lived 962 years and then he died. That's actually incorrect. That's his lineage that lasted that long. And he died at a certain age. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. Okay. Yeah, and to him was born. And Enoch lived 65 years, and to him was born Methuselah. 521, little Aramaic name, Matushalach. Matushalach, that's how you say it. Okay. And Enoch glorified God after the birth of Methuselah and his offspring, his descendants, for 300 years did likewise. They all glorifying God, that lineage, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So let's have a look at 522 in this NIV. Okay, so look, he's got 21, 22. Okay, hang on. Enoch walked with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived 365 years. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more because God took him away. Yeah, this is in your NIV, Americanized English Bible version. Okay, here it says Enoch lived 65 years and to him was born Methuselah. Yeah, okay, as it says in the NIV 21, Genesis 5:21. Enoch lived 365 years, but here's the mistranslation to follow. Okay, this is right here. And Enoch praised God for his duty for which God had consecrated him. It's verse 24 in the NIV. Okay, Enoch walked with God for Enoch praised God for his duty which God had consecrated him. Okay, so that's what he was born to do. Okay, it was God's plan. He honoured it. Okay, so look at 25. But it says in the NIV, after it says Enoch walked with God, correct, then he was no more because God took him away. Okay, it doesn't say that in this Aramaic. Okay, probably because it was never in the originals. That's hinting at, this NIV is hinting that God took him away. He didn't die, God took him away, took him up to the heavens. Okay, it doesn't indicate at that point in the NIV it was a fiery chariot or anything like that. It may say it further on. Okay, because these writers don't know what a UFO or whatever is. So this Enoch pseudepigraphic book, this Enoch pseudepigrapher book that everyone quotes, the walkers, the watchers, all that sort of stuff, could actually be pseudepigrapher, which means that they know when it was written, but they can't identify the author. So it's not considered a true book. right? Not so much fraudulent. Someone in the era that it was written probably decided, well, I can't write as Harry or Ben, and no one will take me seriously, so I'll, pretend to be this writer or something like that, maybe. Okay, but it just says Enoch praised God for his duty for which God had consecrated him, blessed them, right? Yeah, and then Methuselah lived 187 years, into him was born Lamech, and Methuselah's entire line was 969 years, and then it ended. And there's a mistake there, it should be years. You can bypass that. It happens. And Lamech lived 182 years, and he had a son, and he called his name Noah, and said, "This one will relieve our hearts from our toil and the works of our hands, and from the soil that the Lord cursed." Remember that? Way back in the beginning of Genesis, when Adam sinned and the soil was cursed as a result. It grew thorns and thistles and stuff all around him, etc., etc. And Lamech's line, or his lineage, lived after Noah was born to him 595 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. Okay, so he had offspring, right? It's talking about Lamech, not Noah. But Noah did bring forth some offspring. And Lamech's entire line was 777 years, and then it ended. It's talking about his lineage. And then Noah's line was 500 years, and to him were born Shem, Cam, and Japheth. Okay, go on to Genesis 6, which down in the footnote, because there's an indication there. Genesis 6, Breetah, the Hebrew version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. We tried to find that. We could find that Hebrew version of it. Okay, maybe it means the Hebrew rendition. Okay, adoption and adaptation of it. Right, we're not too sure on that one. Okay. And while human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them. Remember this. Was it where it says, to Seth also was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Thereafter, or following that birth, when he grew up older, right? When he became older, the descendants from him, his offspring probably, were called after the name of the Lord, the beginning of the line of the children of the Lord. Okay? So they were the children of the Lord. They all were God followers and so forth. So there was that holy line, the children of God, that line. And while human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them, the sons of God. That's the children of God, right? It's not talking about angels, fallen angels or anything like that. The sons of God, or the children of God, those who called upon the name of the Lord, right? As we shown in the NIV. What's that on Genesis 6? Yeah, here it says, when men began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful. Okay, so yeah, the sons of the human beings, sons of this holy line, saw that the daughters of human beings were hot, right? Were beautiful, and so they picked for themselves women whomever they pleased, right? Ooh, I like the looks of her. Ooh, wouldn't mind getting with her. Ooh, all that sort of stuff. So they picked and chose whoever they wanted and took whoever they wanted. Okay. Who are these daughters of men? Okay. And the Lord said, my spirit does not reside in the human being forever, to the ends of the universe, because he is flesh. Okay, there's a reason why. And his lifespan became 120 years. That's how long they lived for. That's how long they had left over that era, from the era onwards. And they were giants in the earth in those ages, and even later, because the sons of God entered upon the daughters of men, and there was born to them aliens who were giants of universal fame. And let's have a look at that footnote 3 and 4. Okay, 6.2 literal Aramaic expression, daughters of the human being. 631, literal Aramaic idiom or expression, to the end of the universe. So God no longer dwelt with them, would no longer dwell with them, to the end of that universe, end of the universe. Okay. 632, literal Aramaic idiom, age or eon. Okay. 6.3, age or eon. So here, his lifespan or his era, that age, that eon, was reduced to 120 years. Okay, 632. 632. Yeah, here we go. 632, literal Aramaic idiom, age or eon. So that's what it's talking about. They had 120 years lifespan before something disastrous was coming to wipe them all out. Okay. 6.4, and they were giants in the earth or on the earth. 6.4.1 to 3, literal Aramaic idiom, strange creatures, hybrid forms, monstrously large. Neanderthals, they were giants, right? They were huge, right? Freaks. Yeah, maybe they were 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall, 11 feet tall, 13 feet tall, whatever, right? They were huge, monstrous. And in those ages, or that era, and those to follow, even later, because the sons of God entered upon the daughters of men, and there was born to them aliens who were giants of universal fame. These are the giants of the Greek, etc. legends, the myths, right? You know, Jason and the Argonauts, big as one-eyed Cyclops, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Strange creatures, like they are hybrid forms, monstrously large. They are freaks. You know. Okay, where are we? So it's not talking about little green men or nanu or mork from orc or UFO extraterrestrials. None of that rubbish. Okay, the sons of God or the children of God here indicates that they left their rightful place, the presence of God, and abandoned God, right, and chased after these daughters of human beings. Okay, the Neanderthals, remember those ones that were in the land of Nod, that Cain married? He married one of them, interbred with him, right? That's what it's talking about. And the Lord saw that men's evil spread on the earth, and every dissipation of their hearts' excuses became worse with every age. So yeah, they basically turned their back on God and they did whatever they wanted. Use your imagination, all the sick, depriving acts that go on today in our communities, in our countries. Imagine those times 10, times 20, times 30, times 1,000. It's just like it was all go, right? There was no police force or anything to stop them, right? They did their own thing, right? Scoffed at God, whatever, while they're doing it. And the Lord saw that men's evil spread on the earth, and every dissipation of their hearts' excuses became worse with every age. I can do what I want, yeah. And the Lord sighed over his creation of Adam on the earth, and there were reservations in his heart. And the Lord said, I will wipe out the men I have created from the face of the earth, from the human beings to the four-legged animals, from the crawlers to the birds of the sky, because I regretted having created them. Okay, down here it states 672, literal Aramaic expression, he sighed over it. It pained him, right? It really got to him, okay? So he had these regrets. But Noah found mercy in the eyes of the Lord, because he, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives were righteous, right? They were walking in the presence of God, with God, etc., etc., the Spirit of the Lord, and so forth. They didn't become like these other millions or thousands, millions, billions, whatever, of humans, however the amount was at that time, and did all this evil. Okay, everything they did was evil. It's like breakfast, right? They get up, evil, have lunch, evil, right? Dinner, evil, everything was evil. It was all evil centered, wicked centered, right? Okay, and so this is the birth of Noah. Here's the lineage, details. And this is the birth of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, as we just stated, and his seed or his offspring, his grains. That's down here. 6-9, literal Aramaic idiomatic figure of speech, grains. Okay. His descendants were wholesome, or his seed was wholesome, and Noah worshipped God. Okay, so it was like a righteous, probably his seed was righteous, right? So it produced righteous beings. Okay, his 3 sons. And to Noah were born 3 sons, Shem, Cam, and Japheth. And the earth went mad, totally insane, before God, in the presence of God. Right? God is looking down on them, they're going mad. They're all crazy. Look at them. And the earth became full of abomination. All these sick, wicked evils, right? Abhorrent acts. And God saw the earth's madness, they'd all gone insane, as all flesh had lost its direction toward him on earth, because they turned their back on him and followed their lusty, dirty, wicked ways. Whatever was depriving, etc. Pity on those that, like, I want hurt, so I'll kill you, bury you. I want her and her and her, I want him. All that sort of stuff, right? All flesh has gone mad. What you got, I'll take it off you. All flesh has gone mad because the earth has been filled by abomination before them. Yeah. Behold, he says, take note, probably to Noah, I will abandon them to their madness, together with the earth, right? Leave them to it, right? Everything else that goes mad like that, you're on your own. Nothing to do with it, right? There's nothing to do with it. Make yourself an ark of wood from the root with curved chambers, providing strength, and seal it from the outside and the inside with tar. Yeah? And so forth. Okay, we're going to finish there and probably do a part 2, because this is probably a long as video. But we're going to have a quick look at exactly what are the Neanderthal. Okay. Part 2. The Neanderthal. Exactly what are or what were the Neanderthals? Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis or Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. Cut, take 2. So we're going to take a deep look at we are now going to take a deep look at exactly what were the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals, known as Homo neanderthalensis or Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, are an extinct species or subspecies of archaic humans. Subspecies of archaic. A number of varieties of Homo are grouped into the broad category of archaic humans in the period that precedes and is contemporary to the emergence of the early modern humans around 300, whatever that says. Homo Kabish, one from southern Ethiopia, etc. Probably type of species of human, who lived as in Eurasia, the largest continental area on the earth, comprising of all Europe and Asia, primarily in the northern and eastern hemispheres. It spans from the British Isles and the Iberian Peninsula in the west to the Japanese archipelago and the Russian. Okay, so this guy Neanderthal supposedly discovered the remains of these Neanderthals in caves in Germany, and they were named Neanderthals after this guy Neander. While the cause of the extinction remains highly contested, demographic factors like small population size, inbreeding and random fluctuations are considered likely factors. Other scholars have proposed competitive replacement, assimilation into the modern human genome, bred into extinction, as we stated earlier, great climatic change, disease, or a combination of these factors. Okay, some say that they were outbred by them merging with the human beings. Yeah, they slowly were bred out of existence. But here's another possible reason is why they just disappeared over time. It is unclear when the line of Neanderthals split from that of modern humans. Studies have produced various intervals ranging from 315,000 to more than 80,000 years ago. The time of divergence of Neanderthals from the ancestor, and it gives you details here, Heidelbergensis, is also unclear. What's that? Is it Homus heidelbergensis, an extinct species or subspecies of archaic human which existed during the Middle Pleistocene? It sounds a bit like Pleistocene. It was subsumed as a subspecies of H. erectus in 1950, etc., etc. Okay. It's also unclear. The oldest potential Neanderthal bones date to 130,000 years ago, but the classification remains uncertain and not sure. Neanderthals are known from numerous fossils, especially from after 130,000 years ago. The type of specimen Neanderthal 1 was found in 1856 in the Neander Valley in present-day Germany. And I'll probably show you the location of exactly where. Okay, Neander Valley in present-day Germany. For much of the early 20th century, researchers depicted Neanderthals as primitive, unintelligent and brutish, although knowledge and perception of them has markedly changed since then. In the scientific community, the image of the unevolved caveman archetype remains prevalent in popular culture. The caveman is a stock character representative of primitive humans in the Paleolithic. The popularization of the type dates to the early 20th century, when Neanderthals were influentially described as simian or ape-like by Marcellin Boileau and Arthur Keith. Okay. And there's more information here. Describes them in detail, what they actually look like. There's a skeleton of one of them. An approximate reconstruction of a Neanderthal skeleton. The central rib cage, including the sternum and parts of the pelvis, are from modern humans. So they might have added to it to create this representation of a Neanderthal man. And there's lots of information here. In etymology, Neanderthals are named after the Neanderthal Valley. Okay, so it wasn't that guy in which the first identified specimen was found. The valley was spelled Neanderthal and the species was spelled Neanderthaler in German until the spelling reform in 1901. Okay. Okay. To say here, the vernacular name of the species in German is always Neanderthaler, inhabitant of the Neander Valley, whereas Neanderthal always refers to the valley. The valley itself was named after the late 17th century German theologian and hymn writer Joachim Neander. There he is there. A German reformer, Calvinist, church teacher, theologian and hymn writer whose most famous hymn, Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of Creation, has been described by John Julian in some dictionary. Okay, so it was all related to that guy, who often visited the area. Neanderthal can be pronounced using the T. Okay, so as we said, it was named after that guy. Okay, his research history, more information, classification, all the different types probably, evolution. It is largely thought that H. heidelbergensis was the last common ancestor of Neanderthals, Denisovans and modern humans before population became isolated in Europe, Asia and Africa, respectively. The taxonomic distinction between H. heidelbergensis and Neanderthals is mostly based on a fossil gap in Europe between 300 and 243,000 years ago during marine isotope stage 8. Neanderthals by convention are fossils which date to after this gap. Over 430,000 years. Old bones at Cima de los Huesos, could represent early Neanderthals or a closely related group, and so forth. More information. And these is probably a map of the regions, locations of Neanderthal finds, skeletal remains, etc., throughout Europe and the Middle East. Okay, there's quite a bit of ice in Europe during the Würm glaciation, okay, or Würm stage. It's German, probably. Doesn't mean a worm as in, that creature in the soil, and so forth. Here's some more information. They were more robust and stockier builds than typical modern humans, wider and barrel-shaped rib cages, wider pelvises, and proportionally shorter forearms and forelegs, so they would have been pretty stocky and heavy, right? And slower when they ran, easy to catch, easy to beat. Okay, and that's what they probably look like over here. Not very handsome, right? It's a depiction, isn't it? A reconstruction of a Neanderthal woman, so it's a reconstruction of what she might have looked like. Okay, and it gives you the description of what they look like. Okay, this looks like my neighbour a little bit. Yeah, it's possibly, it's a reconstruction of an elderly Neanderthal man. And here's more information here. There's some bones, skeletal remains in Paris or something. There's a culture, group dynamics. There's heaps and heaps of information here. Genetically, Neanderthals can be grouped into 3 distinct regions above. Dots indicate sampled specimens that were found, right? Gathered. There's everything about them, what they ate, competition. What's that, cave hyena? Art, personal adornment. They made themselves jewelry and stuff out of shells, etc. Shells off the beaches, etc. It's a weaponry they probably made. Brilliant. All the killing tools when they went hunting to get animals, all that sort of stuff. Okay, plenty more information there. Religion. Claims that Neanderthals held funerals for their dead with symbolic meaning are heavily contested and speculative. Although Neanderthals did bury their dead, at least occasionally, which may explain the abundance of fossil remains, it is not indicative of a religious belief of life after death, as such burial could have also had non-symbolic motivations, such as great emotion. Okay, sad loss, one of ours died, right? Because as we said in the look at the Breetah, that they did not have that spirit of God. They just had that animal instinct. They had a soul, they had life, but they didn't have that spirit, so there would be no religious inclination in their being. A cult. It was once argued that the bones of the cave bear, particularly the skull, in some European caves were arranged in a specific order, indicating an ancient bear cult that killed bears and then ceremoniously arranged the bones. This would be consistent with bear-related rituals of modern human Arctic hunter-gatherers, but the alleged peculiarity of the arrangement could also be well explained by natural causes, and bias could be introduced as the existence of a bear cult would conform with the idea that totemism, what was that? The totem is a spirit being, sacred object or symbol that serves as an emblem of a group of people, such as a family, clan, lineage or tribe, such as in the Anishinaabe clan system. Was the earliest religion, leading to undue extrapolation of evidence. And more information. It was also once thought that Neanderthals ritually hunted, killed and cannibalized other Neanderthals and used the skull as the focus of some ceremony. In 1962, Italian paleontologist Alberto Blanc believed a skull from Guattari, Italy, had evidence of a swift blow to the head, indicative of ritual murder. and a precise and deliberate incising at the base to access the brain. He compared it to the victims of headhunters in Malaysia and Borneo, putting it forward as evidence of skull cult. However, it is now thought to have been a result of cave hyena predation. There's some cave hyena preyed on them and crushed their skull probably and ate their brain, whatever. Although Neanderthals are known to have practiced cannibalism, there is unsubstantial evidence to suggest ritual defleshing. And there's some more information here. Interbreeding with modern humans. The first Neanderthal genome sequence was published in 2010 and strongly indicated interbreeding between Neanderthals and early modern humans. The genomes of all non-sub-Saharan populations contain Neanderthal DNA. Various estimates exist with a proportion such as 1 to 4%, or 3.4 to 7.9% in modern Eurasians, and so forth, so forth. And there's more information there. Looks very Bob Marley, right? Reconstruction of the upper Paleolithic human RC2 with around 7.3% Neanderthal DNA from an ancestor 4 to 6 generations back. And more information. Interbreeding with Denisovans. So that information there. Transition. And probably the cause of the decline. Climate change, disease. In popular culture, and then there's some references. Low population and inbreeding depression may have caused maladaptive birth defects or maladies, which could have contributed to the decline in late 20th century New Guinea due to cannibalistic funerary practices. The four people, or the Wharea people, depends on how you say it quickly, who lived in the Okapa districts of the Eastern Highlands province, Papua New Guinea, were decimated or wiped out by transmissible spongiform, whatever that is, some sort of disease, right? Okay, so it affected cattle and sheep, etc. as well, especially Kuru, whatever that is. Okay. Spongiform encephalophylla, whatever that says. Ooh, loss of weight there, right? Protruding ribs and stuff. A highly virulent disease, or viral disease, spread by ingestion of prions. Ability to cause damage to a host. Okay, disease spread by ingestions of prions. Misfolded proteins with the ability to transmit their misfolded shape onto normal variant of the same protein, etc., etc. Yeah. In popular culture, Neanderthals have been portrayed in popular culture, including appearances in literature, visual media, and comedy. The caveman archetype often mocks Neanderthals and depicts them as primitive, hunchback, knuckle-dragging, club-wielding, grunting, non-social characters driven solely by animal instinct. Neanderthal can also be used as an insult. You're a Neanderthal. Ape man. I'm an ape man. I'm an ape man. In literature, they are sometimes depicted as brutish or monstrous, such as in H.G. Wells' The Grizzly Folk and Elizabeth Marshall's Thomas's The Animal Wife, etc., etc. And you can see also these explanatory notes. What's this? King made a typo and said theocytic. Okay. Citations. And so forth. Okay, so that's the information on there. Here's a picturesque website of these Neanderthals, archaic human. Okay, and somebody comparing them with monkeys or apes, right? And then becoming upright, losing the hair, etc., and turning handsome, becoming these human beings, right? And there's explanation here. A lot of information there. First discoveries. First human fossil assemblage described as Neanderthal was discovered in 1856 in the Feldhofer cave of the Neander Valley near Dusseldorf, Germany. The fossils discovered by lime workers at a quarry consisted of a robust cranial vault with a massive arched brow ridge minus the facial skeleton and several limb bones. The limb bones were robustly built with larger articulate surfaces on the ends and so forth. Upon first examination, the fossils were deemed by anatomists as representing the oldest known human beings to inhabit Europe. Others disagreed and labelled the fossils H. neanderthalensis, a species distinct from Homo sapiens. Some anatomists suggested that the bones were those of modern humans and that the unusual form was a result of pathology. This flurry of scientific debate coincided with the publication of On the Origins of Species, 1859, by Charles Darwin, which provided a theoretical foundation upon which fossils could be viewed as a direct record of life over geologic time. When two fossil skeletons that resembled the original Feldhofer remains were discovered at Spy, Belgium in 1886, the pathology explanation for the curious morphology of the bones was abandoned. And there's a map with the location of the findings. There's a lot of ice over here. Coastal land. Prominent Neanderthal sites. More information on them. Picture of them found. Neanderthal remains at Kibara, Israel. And their classification. Presumed ancestors of the Neanderthals were discovered at Cima de los Huesos, pit of the bones at the Atapuerca site in Spain, dated to about 43,000 years ago, which wielded an impressive number of remains of all life stages, and so forth. Probably the cave that they found in. And what happened to the Neanderthals is one of the most enduring questions in science, and it has been addressed in the early 21st century by applying genetic techniques to compare DNA from hundreds of living humans and ancient DNA recovered from Neanderthal fossils. The earliest genetic studies of Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA, because this at sacredtext.com under African, the subject African, it says over 60,000 years ago there was a group of 100 peoples, and mitochondrial DNA is proven something like the origins of it or whatever. You have to go look at it yourself. Okay, we're just recording it, but we're not doing it from word for word because it escapes our memory at the moment. But yeah, it's proof of mitochondrial DNA. Yeah. That there was a mitochondrial Adam and a mitochondrial Eve. Okay. More recently, however, it was reported that Eurasians generally carry about 2% Neanderthal nuclear DNA, which suggests that modern humans and Neanderthals interbred and thus were not two different biological species, despite most classifications treating them as such. It was previously argued on the basis of morphology that modern humans are distinct from Neanderthals, although the question of how different is different has always plagued debates on the apparent uniqueness of this fossil human group. When single specimens of Neanderthals and modern humans are compared, the Neanderthals can easily be distinguished. When a broad range of individuals are examined, however, the variations observed fails to isolate Neanderthals as a group that is completely distinct from modern humans for every trait. Like Neanderthals fossils, early modern human fossils are robust in physical form, although they tend to differ from Neanderthal fossils in that they have a more juvenilized belt, large cranial vault coupled with a smaller face and a distinct mental trigon chin. Okay, and morphological traits, all explained here. Body proportions in cold stress. Yeah, here's my neighbour. Picture of my neighbour. Okay, other adaptations. Neanderthal culture, weaponry, I guess, that they've made, their technology, their tools for domestic uses that are distinct from hunting tools, and so forth. So yeah, like we covered in the Breetah, the original Breetah or Genesis, they were basically human beings who had souls, who were living beings, obviously, animate, walking around, jumping up and down, etc. They were active, but they didn't have that spirit of God. They were just a living soul. So yeah, a pre-Adamic type of human being, before the human being. That's basically what it's saying. Trauma and pathology, more information, genetics, research on Neanderthal genetics and its relation to that of modern humans moved rapidly during the early 21st century, especially following the publication of the complete Neanderthal nuclear genetic sequence in 2010. Comparisons of modern human and ancient Neanderthal DNA suggest that some Neanderthals may have had pale skin and red hair. Genetic evidence taken from sites with the remains of multiple individuals pointed to Neanderthals living in small, isolated, close-knit, extended families. In these family groups, the males were closely related, which suggests that these groups were possibly patrilocal, that is, female settled with the male's relatives. Okay, here's more information. Cave digs, photos of cave digs in the Denisova cave. Team of Russian archaeologists excavating in the East Gallery of Denisova cave near Visage, Russia, 2011. Just trying to figure out why he has this, or this lady has this around here. Maybe it's a patch that fell down, right? Like this lady has some sort of patch, or maybe it's a pocket or something. I'm not really sure what that is. Yeah, possibly. Okay, nothing really major. The oldest fossil evidence placing Neanderthals and modern humans in the same location is a human skull dated to 55,000 years ago that was discovered in a cave in Western Galilee, Israel. Neanderthals were known to have inhabited the southern Levant, or the Middle East, during that time. And the discoveries suggest that Neanderthals and modern humans may have first encountered one another then. And more information. Okay, some of the genes shared by Neanderthals and modern humans are involved in immune response. A region of the human X chromosome known as the DYS44, part of the dystrophin gene, also occurred in Neanderthals, and it is present in 9% of all modern human populations outside Africa. This region also contains the haplotype, that is a set of alleles occurring on a single chromosome that tend to be inherited together, called BOO or B006, which was traced to interbreeding of Neanderthals with modern humans between 80,000 and 50,000 years ago. Other genes inherited from Neanderthals may relate to skin complexion, particularly in East Asians. Deleterious genes, what's that? Deleterious? That means that, like, what does that mean? Will they suddenly destroyed or something? Will they just vanish? I'm not too sure on that one. Also may have been introduced. They're there for a while and then they just disappear. Maybe that's what it means. Such as those increasing the risk of acquiring type 2 diabetes under a typical Western dietary regime.